Good morning from Creatique Innovations. This is a tutorial on my paper flowers. Here are your material supplies. You're going to have water, scallop scissors, 2 pieces of cardstock, started out by a 12 by 12, cut down to match the base circle that I'm going to use with this mixing cup, whether it's the small or the large, paper piercer, a pencil with an eraser top. I'm going to use Pacifica and cotton candy, a foam tool, and of course the bitty brads, and I'm using my Versa mat from Close to My Heart, as well as these will be what your finished product will look like similarly. We're going to start by placing your circle base onto the cardstock itself, and we're going to do some small flowers. And what you do is you start tracing around until you create 8 circles. There are some other efficient ways of doing this. There's paper punching, there's hand flower making, hand designing your individual flowers. Next, what you're going to want to do is you're going to choose which scallop scissors you want to use, whether it's a small scallop or a large scallop. I'm going to start with a small scallop, and of course you're going to take your scissors and you're going to start along the outline, and careful to move your paper with you when you're doing this. You want to move your paper into your scissors, not your scissors into your paper. This is not like cutting just any other shape out, and you can sometimes get hung up. Now, if you can see here towards the end where you don't want your lines to overlap, you can always stick it underneath the next scallop in order to create that edge. And of course you see some penciling here. That is where your eraser is going to come in handy. Okay. So you are going to do this 8 times, and then here's your flower shape. And you're going to cut this out 8 times, and then we're going to end up with 8 circles. Now on the second row, or the second 4 flowers that I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and cut around using the larger scallop edges. It doesn't really matter how you formulate or how you want to do your flowers. It's strictly up to you. There are many different ways of creating these, again, as I said before in the prior clip. Now, of course, you can tell it's cattywampus, kind of a funky shape, and that's okay. I do attempt to try and go by the outline. Sometimes it's not always easy to do that, and I've created dozens of these in demonstrations on my Skype, or on my Skype channel, where I do my long distance training with my team as well as customers. So here we are finished with our last piece. Have a habit of always trying to show it up to my face. So now that once you've completed cutting out all 4 flowers, and of course you can see the different shapes, the 2 separate shapes that I've cut, one with the larger scallop and one with the smaller scallop. And I'm going to go ahead and lay these flowers out. Then I'm going to take my pencil and I'm just going to go over the edging of some of these flowers, just to remove the pencil edges that did not get cut off while creating them. And you can see it's very minimal because you're cutting outside the edge itself. Now once you have done that step, you're going to go ahead and cap your pencil and put it back into your handy dandy cup or your circle base. Now that we've utilized that, I'm going to show you how to do Pacifica and cotton candy, which are two of my favorite colors. I actually love all of the new 8 colors that we have from our exclusive color palette. You can see how our ink pads have a swivel base, and there's plenty of techniques that I'll be demonstrating later to show how to utilize that. Now here you can see on my foam tool that I have Pacifica and then I have cotton candy on one side. You can actually get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors on here, four colors, using the different sides of your foam tool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do some Pacifica, and as you can see, as I'm distressing, it really doesn't matter how you distress it or how deep you want to distress, but you are going to want to do both sides of it when you're doing your swipe technique with your foam tool, and really get the tips pretty good when you're doing that. And of course, because I've got my flowers laid out, I'm going to alternate I'm going to alternate my flowers here on each side in Pacifica. And again, you're going to do both sides of the distressing with the foam tool. And again, as you see, I have my 8 flowers laid out. I'm just alternating between which ones that I want to have the Pacifica on it and which ones I want to have the cotton candy on it. And that'll be useful when I show you how to layer them, because you can do this 100 different times and they'll all come out a little bit differently. Make sure that you've done both sides. Then we're going to close up our Pacifica, set that aside, and then we're going to swivel open our cotton candy. And we're going to go over to our cotton candy side, and then we're just going to start cotton candying it, if that is a word. And we're just distressing. Again, like I said, you can swipe however you would like to swipe your flower as far as distressing the edges. I'm using a white daisy cardstock. Some of my flowers have been created using the colonial white cardstock. It just so happens that I have brads here that are white daisy brads to match the middle. You can also decorate them, the flower petals, once you have completed creating your flower base, with any kind of thing. Sparkles, our new opaques pearls, our new sparkles with the red, purple, and green. You can also utilize any type of adherence to it, whether it's a leaf or flower base, or just being able to add dimension and elements to it. I tend to use these as magnet gifts, so I stick magnets using a glue gun on the back of them. And so here you can clearly see the difference. Of course, that's with our acrylic stamps, and I'll be showing a tutorial on that as well later. That I've done both sides of our flowers now. So we have the Pacifica and we have our cotton candy. I'm going to lay those out, close down my base, stick my foam tool with my scissors and my pencil into my cup. And here these are laid out. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our water spritz bottle of some sorts, and we're just going to spritz these flowers with water, make them damp enough and pliable so that you can just take them and start wadding them together. And of course, you may end up with some ink on your fingers. It really doesn't matter. All flowers are imperfect, as everybody has their own flaws to do flowers and nature and beauty and all the wonders to be had. This is so embarrassing, not being able to do a video and then trying to create a video edit at the same time for my first time as well. I appreciate your patience walking through this with me. So now that I am creating and just scrunching, it doesn't matter how you fold, scrunch, munch, roll, just make sure that you don't tear your edges when you're doing this, and that it is still somewhat wet when you're creating them. Not wet, but just a little damp, enough for the cardstock to be pliable when creating it. So as you can see, I'm just rolling, and I'm putting them and placing them back down in the spots to where I want them to be. So here are my rolled paper flowers. Once you've completed rolling your paper flowers, you're going to want to go back and you're going to want to unfold each and every one of them. Doesn't matter, just be careful when you're unfolding them that you're not tearing any edges from it being wet. And I'm going to start off laying each of these somewhat flat, just unrolling them. And you can use this with any type of paper, whether it's texture paper. Just be careful when you go to wet that you're only using one spritz, because any kind of B&T paper, which is background and texture paper that you utilize, unless it's a really strong background paper, it can tear very easily. I'm using our exclusive, close to my heart, Colonial or White Daisy cardstock, as well as Colonial White, just because I can use different color formations with it, and I will delve into the other color flowers that you can see on YouTube tutorials online. Now that I have all my flowers laid out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start layering. So I wanted to start off with my pink base with the small scallop, and then we're gonna go to the large, or I apologize, we're going to go back into the pink and then blue. I'm sorry, the Pacifica, then the cotton candy, Pacifica, cotton candy, and then Pacifica. So we're ultimately going to end up with Pacifica on top, as you can see the layers. So I just kind of rotated my scallops and rotated my layers. Then you're going to take the paper piercer. You're going to stick it straight into the middle, and you're going to wiggle it around a little bit so that you can get some space with your brad to be able to place it in there. And then we're going to take a brad and we're going to just pop that right down in the middle of the brad. Now what I like to do to secure my brads when I'm creating my flowers is, after I've got it in here, for some reason I'm struggling with this particular one, this particular brad, is I like to have it face down, and then, and I should move this paper towel out of the way so that you can see, placing my paper piercer tool back in here. And actually what I do with the paper piercer tool is, after I flattened it, I just take this and I push down on the top of my brad. And this is what your layer should look like after your brad placement in the middle. So now we're in the final steps of creating our flower. What you're going to do is you're going to start from the middle of your flower, and you're just going to start bunching up your petals. And it doesn't really matter how it looks. You're just going to start bunching up the petals and lifting and bunching them around the center, like so. And again, don't worry about perfecting the bunching technique, because honestly, they're your flowers, and I truly believe that it adds a magical touch in your own personality and how you create your own paper flowers. And you're going to do this to all eight petals that you have created. So there are duplicates of the, I mean, obviously each one rotates from Pacifica to cotton candy. And I can show you some examples of other flowers that I've created. Obviously there will be a photo at the end of this tutorial to show you different ways that I've made, or different color combinations and different scallopings that I've used on different flowers, using our new exclusive 8-color palette with Gypsy, Pear, Sunset, Smoothie, Sky, Lagoon, Pacifica, and Cotton Candy. They're just so yummy. So now that I've created my bunch here, this is what your bunch should look like. And then this is the bottom. So it's almost kind of like a cupcake shape from the bottom. And then you're going to set it down, or hold it in your hand, and you're just going to kind of spread out your petals however you want to spread them out. Once you've completed that, and it's good that it's on the brad because you can rotate some of the petals that some that are bigger versus the smaller ones, you could always fan them out so that you can get some of that Pacifica in there. If there's too much cotton candy or vice versa, really makes no difference.